おはよう、エスパーダ諸君。
Espadas are the most powerful Arrancar in Sasuke Aizen's army, and in my opinion one of the coolest group of villains that are out there. And since I've recently watched few episodes of the latest Bleach series, which is...
I gotta tell you, it was perfect.
I couldn't help myself but to look to the past. To the past where Bleach was at the top, like it is right now. There was a time when everyone was shit-talking Bleach, and look at them now. They look like fools because Bleach was so far ahead of its time. We see anime such as Jujutsu Kaisen, Chainsaw Man. All of those anime are having heavy inspirations from Bleach. And for me, the highest point of Bleach so far was the introduction of Espadas. My name is Joe from Anime Bros, and today I will show you my list of my favorite Espadas. And as my least favorite Espada, we have Zommari. He was introduced to us to be the fastest Espada out there, and sadly we didn't see much from him, since we only saw him in one fight against Byakuya, where he thought that he was a captain level threat. And unfortunately his arrogance led us to watch a pretty one-sided fight where he had a few chances to beat Byakuya, but in the end he didn't stand any chance. The biggest positive about him is probably his character design, but that is pretty much everyone in Bleach, since Kubo is the master of that. Next up we have Aaroniero. Aaroniero is an Espada that has a limitless potential, because of his ability that allows him to consume any dead hollow and copy their abilities and even their appearance. He even tried to trick Rukia in thinking that he was Kai and Shiba, but in doing that he tried to bite more than he can chew and swallow. Rukia saw through his disguise and easily dealt with him. And at that time Rukia was not even that strong, and being an Espada, you're supposed to deal with someone like Rukia at that point of the story. Next up we have Yammy. Yammy is by strength alone the strongest Espada out there. But I think he was the most hyped Espada at the time, and he kinda didn't live up to my expectations. He was ultimately defeated by the combined power of Byakuya and Kenpachi, which is not something to be embarrassed about since they are one of the strongest captains in Soul Society. And his Resurrection form is terrifying to say the least. Next up we have Szayelaporro. Szayelaporro is a mad scientist of the bunch. He is a Espada equivalent of the captain Kurotsuchi Mayuri. He thinks of himself that he is a perfect being. He analyzes his enemies' movements and abilities in order to nullify them. He has a disgusting way of healing himself by eating his fractions. And in his resurrection form, he can create countless clones of his enemies. And not only that, he can also swallow and spit out his enemies in order to create a voodoo doll of them. His character design in his resurrection form is tentacles with wings. And as I said before, he likes to swallow and spit out his enemies. Next up we have Nnoitra Gilga, a neckbeard of the bunch. A guy that thinks that women are inferior to men. At least that's what he said when he was jealous of Nelliel for being far stronger than him. His release states allows him to use 4 weapons at once, which looks kinda ridiculous but also very cool indeed. His last 4 battle was only matched by someone like Kenpachi Zaraki, who was a person that eventually destroyed him. Next up we have Baraggan. Once upon a time, Baraggan was a ruler and a god king of Hueco Mundo. He is a literal aspect of death. His abilities and everything about him is revolving around an inevitable death to everything. He is also a very proudful individual, and once Sasuke Aizen dethroned him, he was broken by his pride. Not only that he is no longer a king of Hueco Mundo, he is also an Espada number 2. His resurrection form turns him into literally a Grim Reaper, and that, my friends, is the coolest resurrection form in all of Bleach. Next up we have Nelliel. don't be deceived by her looks, because once upon a time she was the 3rd ranked Espada. Even though she beat Nnoitra to pulp many times, she was betrayed by him and lost most of her powers. And unlike other Espadas, she is not really that evil. She even accompanied Ichigo on his journeys to Hueco Mundo. And once Nnoitra attacked him, she turned into her true form and saved the day. Up next we have Harribel. She is the calm and collected of the bunch, and unlike the other Espadas, she didn't want to gain strength by sacrificing everyone. And she likes to take care of her subordinates. Her resurrection form resembles the one of the shark, and in that she can control the water. She was so strong that she was able to face 1 captain and 2 wizards at the same time, until the point where Sasuke Aizen ultimately betrayed her. And for those of you who play Bleach Brave Souls, let's not forget about all of those fan service costumes. Next up we have Espada number 1, Coyote Starrk. Imagine being so strong that you envy the weak. He's an Espada that embodies the aspect of death, solitude. He fought a person that looks and acts a lot like himself, a head captain, Kyoraku. He was so lonely that he felt like he needed to split his soul in 2. And with death, he gained a companion called Lilineth, that is now his Zanpakuto. Sadly, he was defeated by Kyoraku, but as he was reminiscing on his life, he didn't feel lonely anymore. He considered other Espadas and Lilineth his companions. His resurrection form is him dual-wielding 2 pistols, and that's pretty badass in my opinion. Next up we have Ulquiorra Cifer. He is a character that lacks any emotion, and in that, he can carry out any orders of Sasuke Aizen without thinking twice. He is a deeply broken individual because he was born in the void of darkness. Being surrounded with monsters, he didn't have any other senses other than his eyesight. He was only being able to see the moon on the top of the sky. Yes, he was only Espada number 4 in ranking, but he was probably the most powerful of them all. He even managed to kill Ichigo and awaken his true hollow form. And his resurrection form resembles the edgiest character in anime history. And on number 1 spot we have Grimmjow Jaegerjaquez. Grimmjow is the 6th ranked Espada, and his aspect of death is the aspect of destruction. He lives to fight and fights to live. He became what he is by eating thousands upon thousands of hollows. He fought Ichigo many times, and in first encounter he gave Ichigo a beating of his lifetime. When Ichigo was in his whiny phase, Grimmjow did what we all wanted to do. Grimmjow hates if someone looks down upon him. His overconfidence left a scar on his chest after he faced Ichigo for the first time. His resurrection form resembles a panther, and it's looking pretty amazing. Yes, he might not be the deepest character on this list. His bloodthirst and I don't give a f attitude compensates for everything else. So that was my list of favorite characters in Bleach. Feel free to show me yours in the comments down below, I would love to see it. And if you want to support the channel, best way to do so is by smashing that like button and subscribing to the channel. So until the next time, see ya!